Regular polygon perimeter. In this video, we'll learn how to find the perimeter of a regular polygon. So if we start by thinking about what these words mean. So perimeter is the outside. Regular means the same. So it means that the outside parts are all the same, not just part of them or one of them, but they're all the same. And polygon just means that it's like a square or a triangle. It's got straight sides. So straight sides and what we call a closed figure, meaning they're all connected. All right, so if we take a look at finding a perimeter of a polygon. So we're going to start with a pentagon, and sometimes it's hard to draw a pentagon meaning 5 sides. Now, how I start to think about it is I start to think about it's like a house, except if you draw a house, it has 5 sides, they're not all the same. The roof is not the same as the side and the floor. So what I think about that, but I think about squishing out the wall so it gets out like that. So let's draw a bigger one. So I draw the roof first. Then I think about kind of coming in, like the walls are kind of coming in, and then putting that floor in. So it's a good rough estimate. It's not exactly a regular polygon, and I have a hard time drawing regular polygons, but how I can show that it is putting little tick marks. So when I put a tick mark, that tick mark and that tick mark means that they're supposed to be the same size, even though they may not look the same. So to make it regular, I'm going to make that all of them have a tick mark, and so that they're all supposed to be the same. So now there's going to be a little bit more information that we have to be given. And we've got this side, which is a parentheses, minus 2. So 3x minus 2 in a parentheses and a 2 out front. So the next side over here is a 4x plus 10. So what's kind of cool is to know that that word regular, once we see that word regular in the directions, that means, or if they're marked like this, that means this side length here is the same as this side length. And we have a special symbol for the same, meaning equal. So we can write an equation with these two side lengths, 2 parentheses, 3x minus 2 in a parentheses equals 4x plus 10. And once they're equal, we can solve by distributing first and getting x by itself on one side. So 2 times 3x is 6x, and 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4, so minus 4. Bring down the equals in the middle there, and then we haven't done anything to the right, so bring it on down. Now we're going to get our x's together on one side, so I could either subtract 6x from both sides, or I could subtract 4x from both sides. And I think I'll do minus 4x because it'll be a positive 2x. The other way will give me a negative 2x, and it's just a little bit more complicated. So 4x minus 4x zeroes out, and we're left with 2x, because 6x minus 4x is 2x. Bring down the minus 4, bring down the equals, and on the right-hand side, I have 10 left over. Oh, so I can cancel out the minus 4 first to move it over to the other side. So zero that out, so plus 4 on both sides. Bring down my 2x on the left side, because it's on the left, so I bring it down. Bring down my equals. Notice my equals go straight down. Bring down the 10 plus 4 is 14. Now to cancel out that 2, it's a multiply by 2, so we divide by 2 on both sides. So those cancel out. So x equals 7. Now I'm tempted to circle that because usually we circle that, but the key word up here was perimeter. And have we found the perimeter if x equals 0? We haven't. So what we need to do is a next part in finding the perimeter. So a side, one side, now some people think that it's 7, but it's not because the one side is either this side, this is one side, 2 times the 3x minus 2 in the parentheses, or it would be this one. So I think I'll use the 4x plus 10. So I'll copy that side length down, 4x plus 10. Now this 7 is x, so that's going to go substitute in for x. So I'm going to substitute that in, 4 times 7. Bring down my plus 10. So 4 times 7 is 28. Bring down my plus 10, which would be 29. So that would be one side of our picture, or of our regular polygon. That means this side right here is 29. This one's also 29 because it's the same, because it's regular. This one's a 20. Oh, there's 5 sides, meaning that it's a pentagon. So I'm going to take this 29 and then multiply by the 5 sides. And that was, remember, that was one side up here, one side. So 29 times 5. So 9 times 5 is 45. Regroup. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So our perimeter is 145. And do you feel like there's missing? We need a label there, and we don't have a label up there, so we're just going to call it units. So the steps in solving, the first step is to get that equal. So right here, step number 1 is to get it set equal. Use that equal sign because they are regular. Step number 2 is to calculate the side length. And step number 3, which they kind of overlap, step number 3 is to use that side length to calculate the perimeter. And we multiply by the number of sides. So to go through another one, we're going to do a perimeter problem of regular for an octagon. So example number 2, we're going to find the perimeter of a regular octagon. So, a couple things. We know perimeter now. We need to think about regular, which means the same, so all the sides are the same, and octagon. Oct stands for 8, because like an octopus has 8 arms, so 8 sides. So I'm thinking, like up here on our step 3 right here, our third step, I'm going to, instead of multiplying by 5 sides, I'm going to multiply by 8 sides. All right, so let's draw an octagon. Now this one's a little bit easier, but I kind of start with sort of like thinking about a square, but I don't connect them. I kind of keep the sides spread out, making them about equal, and then I just connect the corners. And that will make, because that would be 4 sides for the square, and then 4 corners that are diagonals, and that'll be 8 sides. Now, it doesn't look all that regular, so I'm going to mark my side lengths as regular. It also helps me count that I have 8 of them, and I do that as I go. And then we need some measurements. So we've got a side length that's 4x minus 2. So that would be this one right here, 4x minus 2. And then we've got another side up here, 2 parentheses, x plus 7. All right, so remember there's 3 steps. One is to find x, to calculate x. So to do that, I'm going to, if they're regular, that means these two are equal. So I'm going to set those two equal to each other. So 4x minus 2 equals 2 parentheses x plus 7. Now notice I didn't do it under here. I did it a little bit over here because I wanted a little bit more space, because I remember the last one I did, it took a while to get to that x equals. So I want to give myself enough space so I'm not cramming myself into a corner. So my first steps, I'm going to notice I see that I can distribute. So I'm going to bring down that 4x minus 2, bring down the equals right in the middle. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times positive 7 is a positive 14. So now again, I'm going to get x by itself. And this time, I'm going to go and cancel out this one, because I notice some students and like to cancel this first one out and move it to the other side, which is okay. It is negative, so I wanted to give an example that it would be negative and see what happens with that piece. So 4x minus 4x cancels out. Bring down my negative 2, and it's on the left-hand side, so I leave it there. Bring down the equals. Now 2x minus 4x. So that means like 2 of the x's cancel out 2 negative x's. So I'm left with 2 x's left over. And there's more negatives left over. And then I'll bring down that plus 14. And my x is all on one side, but now I have to get rid of the 14 and the negative 2. So the first thing I get rid of is that 14. So positive 14 cancels out with the negative 14 if I do it to one side. I do it to the other. And I'm going to bring down my equals. Now, I like that x on the left-hand side, but I don't move it because it's hanging out on the right now. So I want to just bring it down on the right-hand side. Now, this one, negative 2 minus 14. That's the tricky one. And if you notice, I'm going to do it a little bit on the side to think about it. Remember, this minus could be changed to a plus negative 14, and it's a little easier to think about it as additions. So negative 2 plus negative 14 is 16, and they're all negatives. So it makes it a little bit easier to do the calculation. Now I need to get x by itself, so I see that it's a multiply by negative 2, so I need to divide by negative 2. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. Both sides, so negative 2 cancels out. Bring down my x. Notice I keep it on the right-hand side. Now 16 divided by 2 is 8, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Oh, so 8, x equals 8. So, and that's okay if the x is on the right-hand side. If I was to put it on my answer line for this equation, wait a minute, that's not my answer, because I need to find the perimeter. I looked back up here to kind of read my sentence again. It says find the perimeter. So that means I need to take this 8, which is x, and bring it over here. And I think I'll put it in this one. So that would be 2 times 8 plus 7. So 8 plus 7 is 15, and 15 times 2 is 30. So that means each side is 30, 30, 30, and again I have 8 of them, because it's an octagon, 8 sides, so that would be 30 times 8 sides. That would be 0. 8 times 3 is 24 in the tens place. So 240 equals that perimeter. So that's what's going to go on our answer line. And since we don't have any other labels, it's units. But that's that number for that perimeter of a regular, meaning all of them. So I can kind of look back and go, okay, here's my first step to set them equal. My second step to calculate that 30 to get that side length. And my third step is to get the perimeter with it multiplying by the number of sides. And that's how we find the perimeter of our regular polygons.